Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime series, proudly powered by leadershipbydesign.co, where we aim to add value to people's lives. You can listen to us live every Wednesday and Thursday at lunchtime on ebizradio.com, where we talk about everything leadership, coaching, and marketing. And you can listen to us on the latest Lunchtime series on all your major podcast channels today, guys. In our marketing and leadership segment, joining us as per usual, marketing and communication expert and co-host Craig Paisley. How are you doing, Craig?
Kevin, I'm great, thank you. Yeah, good to be chatting again. And when prepping during the weekend, I quickly went back and had a look at how many shows we've done this year already. This is our 15th show for the year, which is just like, I can't believe it. 107 shows to date, and just alarming to see how quickly this year is actually rushing by, though. That for me is the biggest reality check.
This is why. Who was the man? Was it Einstein or was some dude that said time is a construct?
Yeah.
Because it really doesn't, like, I can't believe that we're at the end of April like this. We're moving into like winter. It's
Yeah, winter aside, I just, for the teams that I'm working with across the communications businesses, the critical thing that I keep telling the guys, particularly in the sales side, is that, there's 2 months left to mid-year.
yeah.
And particularly in this world of media, there ain't 6 months left to the end of the year. They're really, from June, you run up to October, because November and December is a done deal. All the spenders in place, the creatives in place, and really it's just seeing the campaigns being flighted. So in essence, there's 6 months of hard work left to close off on a good, successful year in any brand, content, or creative agency space.
Exactly, and because there's only that limited time, you got to make the absolute best of that time, because that's it.
Kevin, and the tough reality here is that whilst there is only 6 months to do the physical sell, closing the deals and contracts, obviously November, December getting the good year in campaign bursts, many clients still have not signed off the 100% budgets for 2023.
Wow.
And I hear this every single day across the industry, from the comms agencies to the media agencies, sitting there, even guys who work on the biggest brands from a independent strategy point of view, going, Craig, we're sitting here still dabbling around, not knowing what to unlock for the rest of the year. And that's quite an alarming place to be for many agencies. There's huge pressure on everyone at the moment.
And I think it's the part of the conversation we had last week about the poly crisis. It's the uncertainty, right?
Very much so, Kevin. Yes.
The volatility that we're experiencing in the world, and the economics and the world war and the inflation and all of these things playing factors into how this plays out. It's causing a little bit of craziness.
But we can't get into this.
Mercury's in retrograde as well. It's like really not helping.
But we just can't be in this retrospective kind of, what did we do last year? Should we be doing it against this year? And this constant state of paralysis. We actually just have to unlock from that and move forward, make bold decisions, and just get on with it.
Well, we had one of the conversations on one of the other shows the other day about, obstacles, the obstacles that we're experiencing as South Africans, right? And at the end of the day, the bottom line that it really comes to is that we need a bit of a paradigm shift as a collective. And part of that paradigm shift is actually making decisions.
Yes.
What have I got control over? Is how I am impacting and what impacts my life, and how do I do that? But how do I make an actual decision? Just get to making a decision. And, it doesn't have to be the biggest change in the world, but essentially make the decision, start taking responsibility for what you have control over, and start shifting the narrative. Because in the end, if we all just throw our hands up in the air, kind of going, oh, well, I don't know what to do, and I'm not sure. And I'm like, well, how about you just make a choice? Just decide.
Exactly. And when there's action, you are moving forward, and you can work with the understanding of what the challenges or some of the hurdles you've been faced with during action are, so that you can actually, in the moments of action, do course correction, as opposed to sitting and waiting and just not knowing where to go. And when you do unlock it all, you could be going in totally the wrong direction.
And not making a decision is still making a decision. That's what people don't see.
Correct.
Not
Absolutely.
making a decision is still a decision. So
Yeah.
if you've made a decision and you're actioning it, you can't learn anything if you're not making a decision. What you
Correct.
and it's really debilitating. But I mean, Craig, while we're on that conversation, don't you want to give us a bit of a recap for last week's conversation, because I think it ties right into what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
absolutely, Kevin. Yeah, so again, for our listeners, we reviewed the article titled A New World Disorder and Navigating a Polycrisis last week. And this article was published by Ipsos Global Trends as recently as February this year. So according to McGregorBoyle.com, we note that a polycrisis is a simultaneous occurrence of several catastrophic events. Building on this, most experts agree that it tends to rather refer specifically, not just to a situation where multiple crises are coinciding, but actually one where the crises become even more dangerous than each disaster or emergency on its own, Kevin. And the report covers 6 macro forces that have far-reaching impacts within the countries, cross borders, affecting societies, markets, and people. And it's just those 6 macro forces that I'm quickly going to look at as the recap, and they are listed as follows. So the first is societies in flux, and we note that 68% of the world's population will be living in urban areas by 2050, up 47% in 2000. The second point is tech acceleration, noting that the global ratio of robots to employees in manufacturing has doubled since 2015, sitting at 141 to 10,000. Point 3 is inequalities and opportunities, noting that 1/3 of the world will be in recession in 2023. Again, I think this plays very much back to our opening conversation. Point 4 is environmental emergencies. On the 28th of July 2022, we registered the Earth as Overshoot Day, when the demand for natural resources has exhausted what the Earth theoretically can regenerate. Point 5 is political sprintering. In the US, $5 million is the average estimated cost of a data breach incident in 2023. And finally, macro force number 6 is well-rounded well-being, which tells us that 1 in 8 people globally are living with a mental disorder, Kevin. And however, while the crises have negative consequences on the planet, each does represent an opportunity for people, brand, and organizations to come together to reshape and create a brighter future. And these 3 are noted as follows. An economic crisis hitting our wallets, there is an opportunity to rethink the structure and purpose of business and systems and to have a positive impact on society. Number 2 is a tension between global and local. Global brands are in a unique position of power. They can definitely bridge the gaps between global and local by offering the best of both worlds. And the third point is a climate crisis we need to solve. Through their actions, brands can have an incalculable impact on the world through the trust they've already earned from their customers, Kevin. And those are the key takeaway points from last week.
Cool, thank you, Craig. And guys, although it's called a polycrisis, go and check it out, because once you hear what the actual polycrisis does, and the unpacking of it, it really does give you a different perspective of the challenges we're expecting, but essentially also the opportunities that we could actually take away from that. So it's a really fascinating conversation, Craig. But what are we going to be chatting about today?
Kevin, I want to revisit some practical advice and insights for marketers wanting to perfect their content strategies for 2023. So moving away from the heavy theoretical issues of last week's conversation to something more functional to help you get over the line, particularly in this hiatus stage that we're talking about. And I went back to have a look at when last we covered the topic of content. It was in early October 2022, so 6 months ago. And there we looked at the topic of how to develop a content strategy in 7 steps, and I think it was HubSpot.com. But yeah, today we're going to cover the topic that is titled 6 hottest content marketing trends for your business in 2023. The article was written by Evgenia Verbitskaya, excuse my pronunciation, a communication expert with experience in formulating strategies and executing media and influencer marketing across large-scale strategic campaigns. The article was published on the 13th of February to semrush.com blog page. So again, very current realm of thinking from our author, Vegnia. A number of leading marketing industry experts all contributed to the article, Kevin, all acknowledging that technological development and new marketing concepts and disruptions like ChatGPT, which we talk about often, are really being introduced at a rapid rate of knots. So let's take a look at how brands can actually prepare their content marketing strategies to help their businesses grow organically. So the first trend here, Kevin, is trend one says a deeper focus on your audience. And I'm glad it started with this particular point. With the likes of AI and automation taking center stage of the content landscape in 2023, we're definitely going to see a year of going back to the basics, like creating content that actually puts the needs of the target audience up front and first. According to the State of Content Marketing report, audience research was actually the top factor leading to content marketing success for 47% of businesses. 44% said they are working at improving the quality and value of the content was as also important. One simple way to create these audience-oriented content pieces is by applying a search intent analysis. And I really like the simplicity of what this reference is. And this is looking at what words and content is already ranking. This helps a brand gain a better understanding of the audience content and expectations. The brand can simply Google the target keywords and note the page rankings. And when they've done that, actually look at the likes of the intended audiences. Are these audiences beginners versus experienced audiences and users? The content structure and the types of articles that have been published, questions and topics covered in the various content pieces, the length and use of visuals and other elements like embedded videos in the articles, and headline type and structure. And they all work to help create the ranking of that content piece and the relevance in terms of that audience segment, Kevin.
What's interesting about it, Craig, just hearing it as a line item, a deeper focus on your audience. I think it's the more AI sort of evolves and does what it does. If we look at the four critical core primary skills that the future of work also has for humans, it's a deeper look at yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as much as AI and the more we go through the expanse of what AI is doing, the more it's really forcing humans to turn back on themselves, kind of going, well, like, what are we doing? What do we need? What do we and really tapping into very specific kind of meeting that very specific need.
Yep, absolutely.
It's a sort of a trend that I'm just noticing from the conversations you bring to the table the whole time, and what humans are really needing to start doing. It's really requiring us to look deeper.
And it's definitely something that's covered further in the principles that we speak about today, particularly when you reference the specifics of AI and ChatGPT. But trend two is definitely starting to answer that point as well, where improving content quality will be a top priority. And for 2023, improving content quality and value will actually be more important than ever before. According to Margarita Loktionova, who's marketing content lead at SEMrush, she states the following: it doesn't matter if you head up a Fortune 500 company or run a small family business. You can create content that offers, take note, real value to your audience. Get it right, and you'll see more website visitors, click-throughs, and conversions. And what's great to note here, Kevin, is that 53% of the survey respondents actually stated that improving content quality helped them rank higher in search, which you would hope and expect, making this tactic the #1 success factor for generating meaningful traffic, meaningful engagement, and obviously that leads to higher conversions. But what we also learn is that to improve quality content, brands must focus on people and what they actually need or what they relate to, exactly as you've mentioned. And then on the back of that, create content that actually answers the need that's described, while also aligning with the brand story. And again, it's important to ensure that the brand story is a thread through every single one of the content pieces. And then other attributes of quality content include the likes of real life experience and expertise, some unique insights that you can't find anywhere else, easy follow steps and practical guides in the content pieces, great user experience, great readability, really clean structure flow and enhanced enticing visuals, and obviously the most important thing is a relevant and consistent tone of voice, Kevin.
Yeah. Again, how it just appeals to human nature, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the third trend states that proving return on investment will be huge. So 2023 has brought a lot of this economic uncertainty of the past few years to the fore, and many marketers are actually still questioning their budgets and really scrutinizing every layer of the budget in depth here. And this is a big reality that's going to prevail for the rest of 2023. However, to get through 2023, brands will need to spend the year proving that the ROI is in place. And a lot of this is achieved by implementing SEO-driven planning and generating organic search and referral traffic. Referral traffic is vitally important in this regard. But it's also important to note that paid ads and social media, take note of this, account for less than 10% of business to business website traffic, Kevin. Leads, sales, less than 20% in the e-commerce environment as well. So quite alarming to see that the paid media drivers are not really performing as high as I thought they would, and therefore the importance of real, relevant, meaningful content that is meeting people's needs. According to Michael Brenner, who's CEO of the Marketing Insider Group, he states that organic search and referral traffic rank as the largest and most effective source of marketing ROI for brands. And what we learn here is brands can do the following to achieve this, Kevin. Perform keyword search to find relevant high volume keywords and compete for them. Research competitor content to compare your strategies against them, and then create really hook in educational, product-oriented content tailored to those specific audiences. Kevin, again, 70% of the companies that are extremely successful with content marketing measure content ROI. 77% also measure overall content marketing performance, an important statement that, but only 34% of companies surveyed actually believe that they measure content marketing ROI effectively. So while 70% are in the space of measuring, only 34% feel that they're actually getting it right in understanding their marketing ROI.
Craig, I mean, like what's interesting about this is you're not only seeing this in a marketing perspective, you're also seeing it from a training perspective, from where people are spending their money on coaching, training, and any kind of sort of intervention that a company goes through. And one of the stats that I sort of saw the other day, that one of the highest in demand jobs at the moment is data analysts or data analysts, right? Based on the fact that that people are needing to make more decisions based off what data they can sort of have to prove what's working, what's not working, is it the right direction, what needs to change. So I can see, like how this also plays into that whole, how do we get enough data out of this?
Yes.
Really support what it is we're doing, and is it working or is it not working?
Yeah, and very much when we start going into the AI generated realm. And remember when we covered this a little while ago, we covered the topic of twinning, digital twins in digital strategy. How to run virtual projects in parallel to real life, and really just what are the data analysts able to bring out to help formulate and correct projects in real time in a twinning space. But then going into trend four is human content will be a priority despite AI generated content trend. And it's just wonderful to see this reality being expressed. Yeah, absolutely. And the point states that ChatGPT is shaping the content, whilst ChatGPT is shaping the content marketing world. AI generated content is at our fingertips. Everyone can create more content more quickly. However, with the launch of ChatGPT, the AI-assisted content production will become a huge player in 2023, allowing website owners to get content developed more quickly. But take note of this, we will obviously on the back of that see a much larger proliferation of non-original and inaccurate content. And the key thing here is that humanly researched, high quality, unique content will obviously stand out more than ever. So that's a important point to work towards for marketers. Again, another point here is that we can use AI by shifting responsibilities. For example, writers become editors and GPT-3 becomes the writer. So using it for the right reason, but then bringing the important intervention of human participation back into the equation, Kevin. So it's our job to shape the output to the desired end state that we have in mind. And this is achieved by, firstly, fact-checking automatically generated content, including quotes, rewriting vague sections to be more specific, removing those generalizations, and then editing for style, removing extra words, repeated ideas, and making sure that the story and the brand story flows through the content again, Kevin.
I think Craig, because I have the background I have in human behavior, what we know about human behavior and what we know about the brain is so small, is so limited, right? To even make the assumption that AI is just gonna deplete humans at that degree, and like we're gonna become redundant and all that jazz. It's just stupid, because when you really start understanding what your brain is capable of doing, and to the point where you can use the chat GPTs for putting stuff in, collating information, and as the human intervention, kind of creating a story out of that. And how would you like that to land with your audience? So unless your audience really knows you and really understands what the point is of what it is you're actually wanting to do, they won't actually get to what that marketing style is. So I don't believe necessarily that AI simply will just take over. I really believe that that there will be a space for human intervention, and there will be a necessity for people to intervene. I honestly believe that.
And I love what you're saying, because here's a chance to really test the principle of co-creation.
Yeah.
When you're bringing machine and human together to find that perfect space where the two can coexist relative to the needs of that intervention.
And I'll give you an example. I've literally done this where I use ChatGPT and I say, okay, give me 10 great examples of leadership, or 10 pain points of leadership. And it spits it out in seconds. And I think, okay, cool. That's fantastic. And immediately I have really great reference to speak to points if you're creating a piece of content or writing about something. And you kind of immediately, it flows into my head and I get to write it out how I'm thinking it. It's useful in this sort of in the speed of what it can put together information.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I take that information and it's still Kevin's information, using Kevin's thoughts and thought processes and sort of personality that you bring to the content. So it's, I think, like, people need to, and I think it's it's sensation. People are creating the sensation of AI is going to rule the world, and like, just pull yourself towards yourself for a second.
Yeah.
And kind of get your brain wrapped around what it actually does do, and what it can do, and how I can benefit from using it.
Yes.
So that's what it can do. It can really benefit businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kevin, Trend 5 states that ranking will be less important, but your click-through rates will count. Well, click-through rates have always counted, but yeah, a lot of money has been spent to get the rankings up. So an interesting slight change on this construct. So Here, search engines, we understand, work to answer questions, searches questions much more efficiently. Content is packaged as feature snippets. The related questions online, acknowledged panels all help to achieve some of these better results. But important point to note is that users may not be convinced to click through to the actual pages just because that's the way we have behaved. So marketers really need to adjust their strategies to ensure that there is a compelling reason to drive search to those actual pages. And when we talk about the other examples that we spoke about earlier, looking at the content of competitors, establish the strategies to be better than theirs, add that educational, product-oriented, tailored content to your audiences. That will definitely help get that click-through rate, Kevin. And a quote by Andy Cristodino, who's the CMO of Orbit Media, he notes that in 2023, the biggest trend will have nothing to do with how your content ranks. The biggest trend has everything to do with click-through rates. And with that in mind, content marketers really need to earn more qualified, high converting traffic as one of the ways to succeed with this objective, Kevin. And it's about creating memorable, useful content geared towards their needs and interests, going back to what you said earlier. And this way, brands will remain at the top of a respective audience's mind. And when they're in mind, you're definitely going to get the click-through rates. A point, again, that stood out for me is that many successful brands, in terms of engagement and click-through, promote their content where their target audience is most likely to connect with it, as one would expect, in the forms of LinkedIn, Facebook, Reddit, or actually by advertising through the larger platforms like Amazon and Google Ads. And the article goes on to note that when asked, 56% of businesses said they promote their content by sharing it on social media, and a further 25% that they actually supported their content through digital PR. So again, a really important layer in the broader marketing mix, Kevin.
Craig, but again, and this is why, I come from that position of why the evolution of man is so important in unison to the evolution of AI, because just that point that you've mentioned now really forces people to critically think through how they put their content together.
Yes.
And critical thinking as a skill, as a primary core skill that we'll need as humans, will require me to outwit my competitor. And I'm going to have to critically think, and I can use AI to help me do this, but I'm still going to have to critically think my way through, how do I get people to click on that click to get to my website so that people see my content rather than the next guys.
Absolutely, and I love it. It's that creatable. It's creating that memorable, useful content geared towards meeting people's needs and ensuring that the brand remains top of mind in all instances, Kevin. Yeah. And the final trend here states that 2023 will be about buying growth, not just building it. And I'm fascinated by this topic in this space, because it is one of those immediate turn-ons to success. And I'll give you the detail behind it. So as we know, over time, content marketers have often adopted a strategy of just growing incrementally, gradually building and attracting the audience through the various channels to the brand's website with that purposeful content. But the article references a quote by Joe Pulizzi, who's the co-founder of CX, which is the Creator Economy Expo, which you know about. And he states here that 2023 will shake things up. Today, with the rise of the creator economy and millions of content entrepreneurs building niche media sites, the opportunities have never been greater for brands to actually purchase these smaller content brands instead of building the audience segments that they're looking for. And I like this approach because as an acquisition strategy, it is in many instances a much quicker route to growth and success versus the long time, the inevitably costly route of gaining traction and building viable audience segments for the brand, Kevin.
Yeah. So I mean, where are we now, Craig? We're not ending yet, are we?
We are. Do you want to talk more?
That seems like it went too quickly. Like, But I mean, Craig, so I mean, on that point, we have come to the end. What are the key takeaways that we can take away from this? Because I think it's quite again, like what's his name, Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. People call him as Gary.
Gary V.
He's been saying it for the last 10 years, right? Content is king, and you really, it's got to the point where we really need to investigate it to this degree to kind of go, okay, cool. How do we deep dive with what people want, right? So it's fascinating. I love it. What are the key takeaways for today, Craig?
Kevin, thanks. Yeah, I'll run through the 6 shortly, but the important thing is that it actually is quite a simple process to get right. When you understand the fundamentals and you can adopt some of these principles and points that we're going to talk about as the takeaways, you will be able to get to that point where you can start shifting your brand relative to the others around a good content strategy. So first takeaway, try to answer 3 questions when creating any content. First, what are my audience's needs? What are their challenges? What are the pain points? And how do they relate to the topic in question? Point number, at least within takeaway 1, how can my content provide more value than what's already available online? And it's this constant need for self-improvement, or at least content improvement, to ensure that yours remains more relevant than anybody else's. And the third question here is, what is my audience actually saying about it? For example, they're sharing commentary on social media, at industry conferences, through thought leadership groups, etc. Get to understand what is actually being said about your content. Takeaway point number 2 is improving your content, whether that's thorough or more authentic. So strategy, more audience-oriented content, or both is worth the time and effort it requires. And that's why it will be your top priority in 2023. Get to understand the strategy and how the strategy is going to drive deeper, longer engagement with more audience. Takeaway number 3, drive organic and referral traffic. Tell those compelling stories, Kevin, but when doing so, answer the reader's most important questions. Align your content with your whole buyer journey. Publish consistently. Really, really important takeaway point this. Takeaway point number 4, human content will be a priority despite the AI-generated content trend. Use AI by shifting responsibilities. As I mentioned earlier, writers become editors and GP3 becomes the writer. It's about shaping the output to the desired end state, and this is achieved by quick, fast-checking automatically generated content, including quotes, rewriting the vague sections to be more specific, and editing for style, removing extra words and repeated ideas. Takeaway 5, ranking will be less important, but your click-through rates will count. The best practices are the ones that speak directly to your target audience. With thoughtful multi-channel promotion strategy that meets the target audience, take note where they are, your content marketing will be ready for anything that 2023 throws at it. Consider digital PR, look at creating guest posts, get quoted in articles, and make your brand visible on other people and thought leaders or associated brand websites, Kevin. Keep number 6, 2023 will be about buying growth, not just building it. And as I mentioned in this section, it's about finding that suitable, best fit acquisition target that already has attracted that right audience segment, and it is producing relevant and highly compelling content to keep the audience engaged and actually then buying into the branding question, Kevin. And those are the key takeaway headlines for today. You're on mute.
It's mute button, sorry. Guys, if you're going to check it out, it's on the Lunchtime series. It happens every Thursday live on ebizradio.com and around lunchtime. So if you want to go and check it out, Craig and I are always having a fun, nice conversation around how we can help people shift and make better decisions, I suppose.
Yeah.
Craig, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us, and I will see you next week.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you. Enjoy the long weekend ahead.
You too. Just for now. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.